AI engineer salaries are exploding. We're seeing headlines with roles hitting $900,000. But what can you, an aspiring or current AI engineer, actually expect to earn in 2026? Forget the clickbait. In the next 12 minutes, you are going to learn the real, hard numbers for entry level, mid level, and senior engineers. We will break down why your physical location is becoming less important than your digital location. And most importantly, I will reveal the one factor, the single skill that separates the engineers earning a solid salary from those building generational wealth. This one factor has the biggest impact on your pay. Stay with me, because understanding this is the key to maximizing your own career earnings. Let's start with the data. This is critical. The typical entry level AI engineer in the United States starts somewhere between $88,000 and $103,000. But here's the catch. The top of that same entry-level band already pushes past $170,000. That is a massive $90,000 gap for people with almost identical experience on paper. What creates that gap? It is not a degree from a top university. It is not about knowing one more programming language. It is about specialization, and it is the foundational secret to unlocking your highest possible salary. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. When you move into a mid-level role with about 3 to 5 years of experience, your total compensation does not just climb, it splinters into a dozen different paths. The average range sits between $140,000 and $211,000. But this is where specialization starts to create enormous divides. An engineer focused on general machine learning might find themselves at the lower end of that range. But an engineer who becomes the go-to expert in a high-value, in-demand niche like generative AI security or large-scale deep learning systems can command a 20 to 40% premium. Think of it like this. One engineer is a family doctor, a generalist who is incredibly valuable. The other is a neurosurgeon. Both are respected doctors, but one solves a much more specific, complex, and expensive problem. Your goal is to become the neurosurgeon of AI. Then you reach the senior level, and the numbers take another huge leap. A senior AI engineer with over 6 years of experience can expect a total compensation package between $195,000 and $350,000, and often much higher. But here is the uncomfortable truth that most people will not tell you. The highest earners at this level often write less code. Their day-to-day value shifts from pure implementation to high-level architecture and strategy. They are not just building a single AI model anymore. They are designing the entire factory. They are architecting the MLOps pipelines, the data infrastructure, and the scalable systems that allow dozens or even hundreds of other engineers to work effectively and create value. It is the difference between being a master carpenter, crafting a perfect piece of furniture, and being the architect for the entire skyscraper. Finally, let's talk about a factor most people misunderstand: location. For years, the rule was simple: move to San Francisco or New York to get a 15 to 20% salary premium. But the rise of remote work is fundamentally changing the game. The new location that truly matters is not your city, but your specialization and your network. For fully remote roles, some companies are still trying to adjust salaries based on a lower cost of living, but the brutal war for elite talent is making that less and less common. The best companies know they are competing globally for the best minds. The real leverage is becoming a globally recognized expert in a niche that companies desperately need. Your physical address is becoming a footnote. Your digital address, your online presence and expertise is becoming your passport to a top-tier salary. So we have seen how specialization, strategic impact, and your digital location cause these salary bands to stretch and break. But there is still that one single factor that has the biggest influence of all. It is something that separates the engineers who earn $200,000 from those who earn over $400,000 for what looks like the same role. If you have found this breakdown valuable so far, do me a favor and hit the like button. It tells the algorithm that this is the kind of deep dive content you want to see more of. Now, let's get into the single biggest lever for your salary. So what is it? What is the one factor that truly separates the highest paid AI engineers from everyone else? It is not mastering PyTorch over TensorFlow. It is not having a PhD from Stanford. The single biggest factor is your ability to connect AI to business impact. It is a skill that rarely appears in a job description, but it is the invisible force behind seven-figure compensation packages. Companies are not just willing, they are desperate to pay a massive premium for engineers who can translate technical capabilities into measurable, predictable financial outcomes. This skill breaks down into three distinct areas that, once you master them, will fundamentally change your value in the job market. First, you must shift from mere problem solving to strategic problem framing. Most engineers are trained and rewarded for solving problems they are given. Build a classification model, improve model accuracy by 5%, deploy this chatbot. The highest paid engineers, however, do not just solve the problem. They step back, question it, and often redefine it entirely. Imagine a retail company wants to reduce customer churn. A good engineer might build a predictive model that identifies at-risk customers with 90% accuracy. A great achievement. But a top-tier engineer asks a completely different set of questions. Is churn even the right metric, or should we be focused on protecting high-value customer lifetime value? What is the cost of the intervention we will use for at-risk customers, and what is the potential return on that cost? They might discover that a simpler 80% accurate model focused only on the highest value customers actually generates an extra $1,257,000 in retained revenue. Why? Because it is cheaper to run and faster to deploy against the customers that truly matter. They framed the problem in the language of profit and loss, not just technical accuracy. Second, you must become a fluent translator between the technical and business worlds. So many brilliant engineers struggle to explain what they do to non-technical stakeholders. They get bogged down in the details of loss functions, inference speeds, and model architectures. The elite engineer, however, can articulate the value of a complex project in the simple, clear language of the chief financial officer. Picture this scenario. An engineer needs to justify a 6-month project to build a new MLOps platform. The average engineer explains how it will automate model retraining and improve the CI/CD pipelines. The pitch falls flat because the stakeholders do not understand the implications. The high-value engineer presents it differently. They create a single, clear diagram showing how the current manual deployment process costs the company 850 developer hours per quarter at a hard cost of $135,000. They then demonstrate how the new platform will reduce that time by 80%, saving the company over $430,000 annually. And as a bonus, it will enable new AI features to launch 3 months faster than the competition. They did not just propose a technical solution, they presented an undeniable business case. This ability to narrate technology in the language of money and strategy is a critical differentiator. Third, and finally, you must master the full product lifecycle of an AI system. Here is a counterintuitive truth. A perfectly accurate model that nobody uses is completely worthless, but an 85% accurate model that is successfully integrated into a product and increases user engagement by 15% is immensely valuable. Most engineers stop at model creation. The top 1% are obsessed with what happens next: deployment, monitoring, scalability, user feedback, and iteration. They understand that building AI is not a linear process. Visualize it as a circle. It starts with a business need, moves to data collection, then modeling, deployment, and finally, user interaction. That interaction generates new data that feeds back into the system, making it smarter. An engineer who understands this entire loop, who can design systems that learn and improve from real-world use, is not just a coder. They are an architect of value creation. They ensure that the AI does not just work in a lab, but succeeds and thrives in the market. This is precisely why skills in MLOps and system design are commanding such high salaries. They are the bridge between a clever algorithm and a profitable product. These three skills, problem framing, business translation, and full lifecycle ownership, are what create the massive salary gaps we see today. They shift your role from being a technical expense on a spreadsheet to a strategic investment in the company's future. But knowing these three skills exist is one thing. Applying them is another. And this is where many brilliant engineers get stuck by making two common career-capping mistakes. The first is chasing shiny objects. They spend all their time mastering the latest architecture in the newest model, believing that technical depth alone is the goal. They can explain every parameter of a model, but not the business problem it is supposed to solve. The second mistake is building the ivory tower model. This is a technically perfect algorithm that is too expensive to run, too slow for users, or solves a problem the business does not actually have. It is a brilliant solution in search of a real world problem. If you are getting value from this breakdown of skills and mistakes, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. We go this deep every single week, focusing on the strategies that will not just get you a job in AI, but help you build a career as a leader. Let me tell you a story I have seen play out far too often. A talented, truly gifted engineer spent 9 months building an incredibly complex personalization engine. It achieved 98% accuracy in offline tests. It was a true masterpiece of engineering. There was just one problem. When it came time to deploy, the truth came out. The cloud computing cost to run the model for every user was 10 times higher than the projected revenue lift. The latency it added to the website was so bad it would have actually driven users away in frustration. The project was shelved, 9 months of work, generating zero value. His mistake was not in the code, it was in failing to connect his work to business reality from day one, from the very first meeting. This is why the proof of your value changes completely as you become more senior. Your resume needs to look less like a list of tools and more like a series of business outcomes. Imagine a hiring manager looking at two profiles. One lists proficient in PyTorch, TensorFlow, and scikit-learn. The other says reduce customer support tickets by 30% by developing an AI-powered knowledge base, saving the company an estimated $500,000 annually. Who do you think gets the interview for the senior role? It is not even a question. The proof of your skill is not just a GitHub link anymore, it is a one-page summary that accompanies your project, clearly stating the business problem, the technical trade-offs you made, and the measurable result. That document, that proof of impact, is the new portfolio for a top-tier engineer. So how do you scale this mindset across your entire career? First, stop thinking in models and start thinking in systems. An AI model is just one component of a much larger puzzle. The real durable value is in designing the entire system, the automated data pipeline that feeds it, the scalable API that serves it, and the monitoring dashboard that proves its ROI to stakeholders. This is what elevates you from a builder to an architect. Second, here is a counterintuitive path to growth. Specialize, then generalize. Go incredibly deep in one high-value niche. Become the undisputed expert in AI agents for logistics or fine-tuning models for legal contracts. Then, from that position of strength and expertise, expand your influence sideways into product strategy and system design. You become a strategic force multiplier, not just a coder for hire. Mastering these advanced skills, avoiding the common pitfalls, and building tangible proof of your business impact is what truly separates the high earners from the average engineer. But theory is one thing. The real question is, how do you start building these skills tomorrow on your very next project? At the start of this video, we talked about the massive salary range for AI engineers. We have established that the gap is not defined by the code you write, it is defined by the value you create. So here is the one thing I want you to do tomorrow. On your next project, or even a small feature you are working on right now, open a document and write down one single sentence. This work will help the business by achieving a specific, measurable outcome. If you cannot fill in that blank with confidence, you have found your starting point. Your mission is to find the answer. This is not about becoming a business expert overnight. It is about building a new habit. The habit of relentlessly connecting every technical decision back to a business outcome. This is the skill that separates the architects from the builders, the strategists from the technicians, and it is a skill you can start learning today. If this way of thinking about your career was helpful, make sure you are subscribed. We release new videos every week breaking down the skills and strategies that actually matter in the age of AI. Our goal is not just to help you keep your job, but to help you become a leader in this new era. Thank you for watching.